And guests of the channel. My name is Yuri. Hello to all the returning viewers, and welcome to my channel to all the new viewers. Communication is the topic of discussion for today. And how big is this topic? Monumental. It seems that in every second video of mine and every other video, I bring up communication one way or another. It comes up in the conversation. We communicate as people with each other, and that's the way that we navigate our relationships. Without communication, there is no relationships. And today I want to take another look at it from a slightly different angle. As we're going through the presentation, as I'm sharing some of this information with you, be sure to engage with me. Be sure to leave a comment. Be sure to let me know where you're watching from. Let me know your thoughts about what is going to be discussed today. As always, these live conversations become a lot more meaningful as the community, Prototype Fam, put that hashtag Prototype Fam, engages with me. And because of that, we end up learning new information from one another. And sometimes we end up discussing something else, something different because of your comments. So be sure to do that. Speaking of Prototype Fam, let's see who we have in the house. We have Ivan. Thank you for being here. We have V. We have Latanya. We have Joanna in the house. Appreciate every single one of you for joining me live. Exciting stuff today. Very exciting stuff. The topic of today's discussion is overcoming communication challenges as a couple. What's really cool is that one of the viewers last week, JC, gave recommendation during the live talk last Sunday. He said, Yuri, I recommend looking at Dr. Gottman's work on successful communication. That would be a great basis for discussion. So I did that. I took your advice, JC. I went and looked up a couple of videos by this Dr. Gottman guy, and I was really pleasantly surprised. It was a lot of great information. It was a lot of depth in his research. And guess what? Information in today's live talk is going to be based on what I learned from his videos. So who is this guy? Jactor. I just created a new term, Jactor. Dr. John Gottman. He's a world renowned for his work on marital stability and divorce prediction. He conducted 40 years of breakthrough research with thousands of couples. He was one of the top 10 most influential therapists of the past quarter century. And I got this information from his website, Gottman.com. So there's a link underneath his picture. So you can check it out on your own time and see what this guy is all about. But I wanted to start with a closer look today. Kind of look into microscope, if you will, and start with detail approach to relationships and what some of these nuances that we need to understand in order to be aware where our relationship is or how to make this better. So first thing is the balance of positive to negative emotions. That is a concept that Dr. Gottman discussed, and he titled one of his principles as Roach Hotel Model. And the premise of it is that the negative effect of interaction is really hard to exit. It's really easy to enter, but we tend to stay there. And you can probably relate to that to some extent because once the negative information is communicated to you in relationship, you tend to remember it, right? I can vouch for it because I know that in my past relationships, when a woman would tell me something bad, for the example that I use during a couple of my videos is when I was living with my ex-girlfriend, she would make a remark or two pertaining to various things, and they'll be hurtful in nature. And that stuff stuck with me. So really, I couldn't remember a lot of great things, but I could always remember these negative things that she said. So I believe it to be true. So he said that negative state is easy to enter and stay in, but it's hard to exit. And he said that negative behavior has a greater chance to inflict damage than positive attempts to repair it. So, the other words, once you engage in this negative behavior and negative interaction, it's going to be so much harder for you to negate that and to turn it into positive uh, interaction. It's very important to remember that. It's very important to understand it, because the damage that we do may be irreversible. So the next thing, he actually give a data showcasing the balance of positive and negative emotions in ratios in unhappy or unstable couples versus ratio in happy and stable couples. And if you take a look at it, we have 0.8 to 1 ratio of positive and negative emotions in unhappy couples, which means that in these situations, there's more negativity. There's not enough positivity, but there's more negativity. Versus a ratio in happy and stable couples, there's 5 times more positivity than negativity. And also what that tells us is that if you have a negative remark, if you want to think of it literally, right? It will take 5 positive remarks for every negative remark, if you want to really get exact and specific. Again, we got to be mindful what these negative remarks and negative interactions that we're having, because after so many of them, it's going to be really hard to catch up and reverse that with positive interaction. And so the next point that important for us to understand from Dr. Gottman research is that 3 first minutes of the conversation during conflict discussion will determine 96% of the time whether this is going to be low risk or high risk couple. So think about it for a moment. The first 3 minutes, and this is a guy who's been doing it for 40 years. This is not some average Joe from the street who's saying that. He conducted studies with thousands of couples, right? First 3 minutes of the conversation during the conflict discussion will determine 96%. So what does it mean? What does it tell me? That tells me that we really have to get a lot more intentional how we start the interaction. And yes, that sounds simple, but it's not easy. It's not meant to be easy. First 3 minutes, can you come and approach the conversation from a nurturing standpoint, from a standpoint of seeking a solution, knowing that this first few minutes going to be crucial? Again, once this sort of a precedent has been set in the conversation, and if it's a negative precedent, very difficult to get back from that point and turn it positive. The next thing that I really wanted to communicate to you that I learned from this, from Dr. Gottman, is repair attempts. So he's saying partners in a healthy relationships tend to do 2 distinct repair attempts during conflict. First, they trying to make attempt to repair. And second, they trying to accept these attempts. So what that means is that even though you might not like to come forward and make these attempts to repair, you still would be in a better position if you do. Your relationship will be most likely to survive and be a thriving relationship if you able to swallow your pride and make attempts to repair. Also, there's a need to accept these attempts, because what happens occasionally, we can be too proud as people. If we think we're in the right, what do we usually do? We might not necessarily be open to hearing somebody else's opinion. We might say, well, um, internally to ourselves, we might say, I don't accept your attempt to repair this right now, right? And that could be seen easily. People become silent. People don't interact. People become too proud. People allow their ego to get the best of them. So both of these things are equally important: making attempts to repair and then accepting these attempts to repair. And what is the solution? Is use I statements. So example is, I understand how you feel. I can see why you think that. My reaction was too extreme. I'm sorry. Let me try again. Because what tends to happen, we tend to use you statements. You did not do a good job. You was late to our date again. You did not do laundry even though I reminded you about this. You. And listen, some of these things could be true, but when we communicate that way, people will feel as if they've been personally attacked. And once you personally attack someone, again, you establishing this negative type of approach, which really difficult to come back from. So instead of using I statements, being able to communicate how you feel about situation and what you experiencing, because that's what's in your control. What they doing ultimately is not in your control. How you perceiving the situation and your feelings about the situation is in your control. And you have all the right to communicate that, right? So it might seem to the other person that it's not a big deal what they did. But I need to be able to communicate how I feel about it, how I view what actually transpired. So it makes sense. So now that we looked at more narrow view, more detailed view in these nuances, let's zoom out and let's take or have a global view rather of communication and relationships. So Dr. Gottman talks about two horsemen of apocalypses. I think that's how you pronounce that word. I have trouble with this word. He talks about criticism, defensiveness, disrespect and contempt, and stonewalling. And he's saying that these things that end up absolutely demolishing relationships. He also gives an interesting statistic that 69% of conflicts in marriage are never solved. Think about this number: 69% of conflicts. As far as criticism goes, let's take a look at each one of these a little bit closer, okay? I have my notes, so I'm going to look at some of my notes that I took. So with criticism, it's rather obvious one. You could be criticizing your significant other, your partner. You could be belittling them. You could be complaining to your wife, let's say, about her talking about herself all the time. That could be criticism. Defensiveness. That could be what he calls righteous indignation, I believe the term that he used. So counter complaints. Oh, well, you think that I did that, but you did that. Innocent victim. Making out yourself to be an innocent victim in this particular situation. Well, maybe that happened, but I had no way of knowing to do something at that particular time. I did not get the memo. Innocent victim. So what is the solution for defensiveness? Dr. Gottman said the solution is to accept responsibility. Hey, I realized that I messed up in this particular time. Listen, my bad. I know I could have done better. Let's move forward. Let's see what we can do to solve this. The next one, with disrespect, And contempt is specifically with contempt, feeling superior to your partner, right? And Dr. Gottman said that this is the single best predictor of divorce. So if you are in a situation where you feel that your relationship has disrespect and signs of contempt, this is a really bad sign. And we talk about disrespect quite a bit. Any kind of direct insults, calling your partner names, those type of things are really going to contribute to the demise of your relationship rather quickly. And so solution here is creating culture of appreciation, saying thank you, and communicating respect. And listen, these things are really, again, monumental. I'm going to use the same word that I used in the beginning. They not to be undermined by any stretch of imagination. Saying thank you to someone, acknowledging and portraying respect is really, really important in the relationship. It does create this culture of appreciation, and it allows you to feel as if your partner actually appreciates you, right? These things are important. Stonewalling, so that's emotional withdrawal from a conversation. This is one of those situations where you're just going to get ignored by your significant other. So your partner may be speaking with you and you're not even paying any attention to them. It's like they don't exist. They are not getting through whatsoever. And so solution here is really to pay attention and acknowledge your partner. It's that simple. So listen, if you're aware of these 4 horsemen of apocalypses, is that how you say it? Then you ahead of the game already. Which takes me to the next point, actually. It's more of a question. Is friendship the answer? Here, Dr. Gottman talks about 3 different things. First one is enhanced love map in the relationship. What this is a feeling of interest of one another. An example would be asking open-ended questions. And this was, I'm not going to lie, this made me happy when I heard him talk about this in one of his videos, because that seemed to be a topic of emphasis that I constantly bring up in my videos all the time. There's probably at least 25 videos in which I talk about specifically communicating and asking questions. And I know those of you who members of my channels and who returning viewers of my channel, you've heard me say this over and over before. Asking questions, getting to know your partner. How do you expect to have a wholesome relationship, a thriving relationship, if you don't know your partner? If you're not asking open-ended questions, what do you want ultimately? What is your goal? What are your dreams? What kind of mother are you seeking to become? What kind of father are you seeking to become? Where would you like to go in the world? What do you deem the most important thing in the family? How do you feel about budgeting? What is your favorite thing to do? You get the point. It's an open-ended question. It is not yes or no question. It is not, did you get groceries today? That is minute, pointless question when it comes to enhancing your love map. Long-term type of solution. or not a solution, but long-term type of recipe for a successful, thriving relationship. The second factor is foundness. Did I spell it correctly? Foundness. Yes. No, that I'm missing S. I'm sorry. It should be foundness. And admiration. So positive emotions must be communicated. I appreciate you. Thank you. I noticed this. I acknowledge this. And this is actually a big point, because I would argue that it's much more difficult to give somebody admiration if you don't really like them as a person. How can you admire someone just for no apparent reason? What is your reason to actually admire someone? So I think attraction in the beginning is a big reason. I would argue that you have to like the person. And attraction is not just physical. Attraction, there's many different levels to it. But if you're not attracted to a person to begin with, that's kind of like the anchor, right? The attraction is the anchor. There is something that draws you towards that person. And then on top of that, like once you get to know them, it's like it just gets better. Like this person they have the value system that you appreciate. If you have those two things, if you have that attraction, that pull, and if they portray or exude some of these principles or values that you appreciate, then that's a good recipe for being able to admire someone. And then the rest of it is, can you communicate those things to that person? And according to Dr. Gottman, you must. Third one is bids for emotional connection and turning forward. What this is partners' attention during communication and meaningful acknowledgement. The example is when you talk with your partner, you can probably think of situations when your partner just either didn't even say anything back when you were talking to them, or maybe there was very like mild, like, yeah, maybe he or she was doing something else in the meantime, and they kind of give you this, a very, very brief moment of acknowledgement, like, yeah, I heard you, but I'm not really listening intently right now. So this is where it also gets tricky, because it builds up with time. If your partner is not giving you this emotional connection that happens very steadily, it takes a toll. Would like to hear your comments on that. Do you agree with that? Does it make sense to you? Have you interacted with someone who made you feel that way? What's your take on it? Because I certainly connected with that. And I think those are the points that I've had. Those are the points that I've had and takeaways that I've takeaways that I made, or that I gathered through from his videos. Let's see some comments. Women have a tendency to hold on to negative comments or actions our partners have done in the past and use it against them at our discretion instead of talk about it and letting it go. Hello, George. Thanks for being here. Acting out, the scenarios are giving me, not sure what this is, but appreciate it. Sounds like you liking it, so that's good. Gratitude is key. Good. Yes, agreed. Agreed. All right, few things. One thing that was not in the PowerPoint. that I jot down that I think very powerful. So he was asked, Dr. Gottman was asked in one of the interviews, what what is the most powerful that people can do in a relationship? He said most powerful thing that women can do is to say, this is not all your fault. Now, according to him, that's one of the most powerful things that you as a woman can say to a man. This is not all your fault. I take accountability and we're in it together and we're going to figure it out. That's what that sounds like to me when I hear that. Most powerful thing that man can do, he said, is to accept the influence. Here, I think oftentimes man can get to a point where they not appreciate enough. In some instances, they probably now not allowing their women to influence them to the extent that they could be influenced by their women. And so Dr. Gottman saying is that if you accept the influence, this could really be a game changer for a relationship. Now, again, I would say that for both of these things to happen, I keep coming back to the previous point. You have got to be with the person that you can respect, that you can appreciate, and that you want to be with. You have to be with that person for the right reasons. And it may be sound like a redundant type of point, but I really don't think that that is. I think that a lot of people, you end up falling into relationships for different reasons. I don't think it's very well thought out all the time. And learning about these things really make me think more critically and becoming more aware of some of the things I've never thought before. Let's see. Men really love to be needed. It is very important to reinforce your man and thank him for all he does, even if you want more. It's powerful because women have a tendency to criticize. And I think men tend and men have tendency to shut down, walk away from it, or not pay attention, right? So I think there's we can really kind of identify these flows from both genders. That's important to acknowledge. My friends, let's see. One question I have for you: what topic would you like to see next? That is the question for the next live show. What topics would you like to see? Because did anything from this particular conversation that stuck out to you? Was there any points that we covered that you would like to take a deeper look at? There's a lot of information. Would love to know your thoughts. Because right now, the next live talk is Sunday, May 29th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, USA. Mark your calendars right now. Mark your calendars right now on your phone or in your planner. Put this down because I want to see every single one of you here live with me next Sunday for another great conversation. I want to take a moment of gratitude and thank all of my members. And I want to thank my subscribers. And I want to thank my amazing Prototype Fam community. There are so many of you who supported me in the past. And there are so many of you who continue to support me right now. And I am very grateful. There's so many names to mention. just about, everyone in my Prototype Fam membership community um, has been an amazing support. And also, lately, I've had support from quite a few folks. I had support from Valerie, from Liz, from Yvonne, from Latanya. And I want to just say thank you, huge thank you to every single one of you. And I'm hoping I'm not forgetting anyone. Um, as far as support, I want to just remind that every single dollar that I receive from you is going to be put back into the channel. And there are a couple different ways that you can support the channel. You can support it through super chats and super stickers, which are things that you can do during these live talks. There is also a new option that YouTube just came out with. It's called Super Thanks. And again, Liz, Yvonne, and Valerie took the opportunity to do that. So thank you for that. And that's just the heart with the little sign underneath the video. So that's another way to support. And then the difference is, I just want to make sure that you understand the difference between doing any type of support through YouTube and PayPal, for example, is that YouTube takes 30% of the donated amount to themselves. So if you're donating $10, $3 automatically go to YouTube. Whereas PayPal only takes like $1 or $2. So either way, you have couple different ways to support. And I just wanted to take a moment and to say thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of you who supported. That means the world to me. I want to see your comments and see what you want to see next week. Anna said, I would say the most powerful thing is women can say it's not all your fault. Yes, that's exactly what Dr. Gottman said. Are you saying you agreeing with that? I think that's what you're saying. Let's see. Build your husband up instead of tearing him down. Absolutely. I appreciate that very much, Michelle. Michelle is a new member as well. Shout out to you for being one of the newest members. I love all my members. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Any kind of suggestions you have, please either put them in the comment right now or leave them in the comment after this live talk. And I would love to take a look and consider them for the next live talk on Sunday. Let's give quick shout outs to folks who join us today live. And we will continue on with our day. This was a quick and sweet one today. We don't need over an hour conversation today because we've covered all the bases, unless you have additional questions or would like to have another topic of discussion right now. But I want to acknowledge people that were here with us. The most powerful thing a woman can say is thank you and I'm sorry, in my opinion. Nice, very nice. So Yvonne, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Anna, thank you for stopping by. DM, thank you for stopping by. Michelle, thank you for being here. Latanya, appreciate you. Let's see who else. We had a couple other folks in here. George, thank you for being here. Joanna, thank you for being here. V, appreciate you. Thank you for stopping by. My friends, I think it's a good place to start for today. Looking forward to your comments and your suggestions for the next live show. There's probably some additional things that we can talk about or go deeper with some of these concepts that were discussed by Dr. John Gottman. There's a lot to unpack. So today was more of a kind of a surface level information. I hope that it helps you. I will also go ahead and include a couple of videos that I watched in preparation to this live talk, so you have access to these resources as well. So um, give me a few, well, I guess 30 to 60 minutes after this, and you should have your resources in the comment section underneath this video. Other than that, my friends, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support. Give me that hashtag prototype fam in the comment. Yeah, all amazing. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Mark your calendars for the next live show the following Sunday, as I mentioned, on the 29th. Take care of yourself and your families. Stay positive. Hopefully, you can use some of these tips that we covered today and some of the information, not just tips, but information rather, pertaining to relationships, and you can apply it into your own relationships. Have a wonderful day. Be well.